The voice said to the sixth angel, who had the horn, "Let the four angels loose that have been chained at the big river Euphrates." They had been kept ready for that hour and day and month and year. They were let loose so they could kill 1/3 part of all men that were living. The army had 200 million soldiers on horses. I heard them say how many there were. The Book of Revelation, chapter 10, verses 14 to 16, King James Version. What is going on now in Israel is a disaster of epic proportions, fueled by satanic deception of monstrous magnitudes, and will surely see the end of both the illegal state of Israel and the so-called uniparty Western fake democracies which support it, financially, politically, and militarily. There are parallels in Europe with Kosovo and Metohija Kosmet. In the 1850s, the Ottoman occupiers flooded Kosmet with Albanian Muslims, who expelled and killed Orthodox Serbian Christians and turned a 90% Christian majority into a 10% minority. In the 1990s, this was a European genocide which the West supported, illegally bombing Serbs in 1999 to finalize the process. No Western leader was ever found guilty of war crimes outside of Serbia. The parallel in Palestine is an accelerated analogy, 75 years, not 150 years, and it is still going on. When European Jews escaped the slaughter of World War II, they were welcomed by Palestinians, but the creation of the 1948 State of Israel was a turning point which started the genocide of those same welcoming Palestinians, both Christian and Muslim, with the assistance of Zio-fascists in Europe and America. The Jews who were persecuted became the persecutors. The genocided became the genociders. The 92% Palestinian population in 1948 became the minority on less and less land. One factor which maintains the murderous status quo is the threat of being labeled an anti-Semite or self-hating Jew. These are the creation of the propaganda arm of Zio-fascists called Hasbara and the numerous Sayanim, literally helpers in Hebrew, outside of Israel who spy on non-Jews, aka Goyim, literally cattle. AIPAC, American Israel Public Affairs Committee, is one of the numerous organizations to keep legitimate criticism in check. They pay off the vast majority of senators and congressmen in the US government, the Jewish lobby, and Europe is similarly lobbied to close its eyes and pay up. Deception is key to their strategy. Jews are afraid. Hamas is using hospitals to hide. We are God's chosen people. Hamas is using human shields. We are fighting human animals. And they want you to believe that saying that Palestinians have human rights is anti-Semitic. With the events going on, there is absolutely no excuse for Western countries not to act. Let us reprise of the last 30 years of failed Western interventions which killed millions of civilians, Iraq 2 times, Yugoslavia, Afghanistan, Libya, Syria. Hypocrisy is now a Western value, not democracy, freedom of speech, or peaceful coexistence. Whatever happened to the UN Declaration of Human Rights? Right to life, liberty, security, right to earn a living, right to healthcare, right to food and water. These have been obviously broken, and yet the West is silent, only maintaining the fascist mantra of Israel has a right to defend itself. But Norman Finkelstein, Gideon Levy, Noam Chomsky, Rabbi David Weiss, and many other Jews do not support the State of Israel and are openly criticized in the lying press. Peace is un-American and un-Israeli. People asked, why did the Germans let the Nazis get away with it in World War II? Look at yourselves. Our governments are getting away with it now. Germany sends 30% of the weapons to Israel in its genocidal campaign, yet pretends at home that it is open, democratic and tolerant. Bullcrap. What are you doing now? They condemn Russia, like human rights lawyer Starmer, yet after over 40,000, more than likely 300,000 civilians have been murdered, he does not call it a war crime. He is the definition of a hypocrite. Unelected Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Union, exudes massive, unmatched hatred of Russia and devises limitless sanctions, yet she stays silent in the European Parliament on the genocide of Palestinians. Just read some of these quotations from evil men. This would be called hate speech in the UK. How could we fund them? The US is not run for the people by the people, but it is a Zio-fascist bitch of Israel, ready to defend its interests, to give it financial oxygen, and to have its back at the UN. Immediately, the US sent 2 warships and even bombed Syria. Even the UK sent warships and planes. Yet it has 20 million of its own citizens living in poverty. How could we accept this? We need a pro-UK party, not a pro-Israel party, as Rowan Atkinson said. Look at the Zio-fascists who really run America. From Janet Yellen to Ron Klein, from Jared Bernstein to Antony Blinken, who openly himself claimed, "I am a Jew," when visiting Israel. His credentials are obviously biased and his position is not tenable, representing a serious conflict of interest. But we have been here before. Recall the illegal war on Iraq in 2003. Zio-fascists like Pearl and Wolfowitz in the US government created the basis for an illegal, unnecessary war which benefited only Israel and no one else. And the cartoon-like figure of Netanyahu later lying before the UN with a mocking picture of a ticking time bomb and "we must urgently attack Iran" speech. The Zio-fascists have called October the 7th their 9/11. Really? The real 9/11 was a false flag, which many Americans now understand. So is Israel's. How many babies were beheaded then? With absolutely no evidence and fleeing civilians shot by IDF helicopter gunships in crossfire. The Zio-fascist narrative is based on lies and deception, following the great deceiver. The West has so-called anti-Semitic laws, and I will be accused, with many others, of being one, but I am pro-Semite. Palestinian Muslims and Christians, which make up 20%, have the right to exist on their own land. In fact, in Germany, Israeli flags fly at the same level as a native flag, an obvious case of treason. New German citizens have to pledge allegiance to Israel, which is the master of Germany. In fact, flying the Palestinian flag is illegal. Further, in the UK, you cannot chant "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free," which Zio-fascists have banned. Western hegemony has been in decay, especially in Europe, since 1989 and the fall of the Berlin Wall, when Genscher was proud to destroy a multi-ethnic, multi-religious, industrious and harmonious Yugoslavia. With many millions of refugees from our illegal wars, peace activists and anti-Jewish sentiment, UK, Germany and France should be afraid, very afraid. Afraid of demonstrations, of direct civilian action and massive unrest, leading to civil war and illegal regime overthrow. We have 1/3 of our citizens living in poverty, yet we fund Israel with absolutely no benefit to us. This defies any logic. The corporations who support and finance Israel is staggering and egregious. Each burger you buy or each coffee you buy from them finances a bullet, a missile or a bomb which murders Palestinian children. Are you not ashamed? Stop buying. Stop the support for this. Support the Palestinian cause for freedom. The BDS, Boycott, Divest, Sanction movement is actually illegal in America, and you can guess why. And Zio-fascists will not stop at Gaza, but the West Bank is also their target. They want to expel all Palestinians from their own land, and further attacks are ongoing there. When I read the verse from the book of Revelation again, I now understand the third of all men whose flesh is carrion will be those who support Satanic Israel, not those who strive for peace, for justice and for hope. Jesus stood for these things. He did not advocate for the genocide of anyone, nor the shooting of children or pregnant women. The real Israel is a people who acknowledge Jesus, not Satanic Sanhedrin or Pharisees. The Zio-fascist genocidal catastrophe that is Israel cannot be allowed to exist. The only solution is for Jews to find another homeland, one in which they do not genocide the native population. And this will lead to a massive exodus of millions. And we should also stop our generous, unquestioning funding of them. Free Palestine.